he's I was on the last teletown hall, and I have to tell you, I was screaming at my phone after like 15 minutes. And it's so frustrating because like I sit there when one of the jobs that I have is I work for the Long Islander newspaper.
Okay.
And we during the fall festival, we table at the fall festival, and next to us is always the Republican tent, which
Okay.
I think is just God trying to piss me off. But
A little bit, probably.
but right down the road, there's also the Democratic tent. Nobody's there.
Nope.
They're not handing anything out. The Republican tent is constantly busy. They're constantly handing things out. Their candidates are there. The only candidate that I've seen at the Democratic tent is Craig Herskowitz.
I love Craig, by the way. Great
Craig's
guy.
great. He's gonna be on this podcast in 2 weeks.
Good.
But
Good.
um, you know, the entire apparatus out here is wimpy at best. It's really
Yeah,
it needs people like you and New Democrats right now
I
to kind
appreciate
of
that.
bolster it right now.
Yeah, because you know what? We shouldn't be afraid to say that they have a better operation. Now, are they unethical? Of course. And that's part of why it's better. But if you want to look at the substantive organization showing up, they have us, they have our clocks cleaned any day of the week.
Yeah.
And you know what? Lolota shows up. He does. He shows up to events. He went to a Pride thing once. I mean, you can't say that he
As
doesn't
long as
know
there's
how
food.
to. I mean, yes, but you can't say that he doesn't know how to at least be a politician. Now,
Yeah.
his idea of being a politician is you show up, you pay lip service, and you can still do whatever the F you want because people have no other options, or the Democrats are so weak that I win by default. We need to rewire Republicans' brains in Suffolk to realize that the lip service isn't enough. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
the lip service is more than what we're giving them sometimes, right? I mean, it is. I've been to these events. I've worked on these campaigns. I've seen candidates not show up. I've seen John Avalon stay out east. I'm sorry. If we are going to win, we need a full autopsy in Suffolk County. We need to say, you might be a good guy, but you made a mistake. Your campaign made a mistake. This isn't a personal aside, right? I think everyone for the most part is very nice, but being nice doesn't mean you're a winner,
Yeah.
right? I like, I want to think that I'm a winner because I don't rest on my laurels. And I try and make sure that every stone is turned and all I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Because even recently, when I felt like maybe I'm going to win the primary, which wasn't always the case because I was building, obviously. Even now, when I felt like I'm probably going to win the primary, I'm not resting at all. I'm going out east every opportunity I can. I'm on every Zoom I can. I'm at every protest I can because at the end of the day, you know, like I said about trust, it's very hard to win over and very easy to lose. And now that I feel like I have some people's trust, I need to show them that I wasn't paying them lip service, that I wasn't showing up because I wanted something out of them. That the relationship that I built with some of these constituents is actually genuinely built on a shared desire to see good things happen and to see results be delivered for Suffolk. And I'm confident enough to say that probably a lot of candidates that have run out here in the last few years haven't had the same relationship with their supporters that I do. I speak to my supporters very frequently. I go to their house, we break bread. I am trying to genuinely be a part of the community. That's why I live in the community. That's why, should I win, I won't be relocating to some part of the district where I can't be seen or just to DC. Like I will still be in Northport. You will still see me in the village getting a slice of pizza. If you want to yell at me, you can yell at me. That's part of my job. And I genuinely feel that way. And Democrats have been putting up people understand that that won't be the way they operate. It is painfully obvious. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. So, question, do you have any debates coming up with your primary opponent?
It's just forums, which are
Just
good,
forums. Yeah.
but I want the opportunity to kind of respond to certain things
Yeah,
sometimes
I would love to
personally.
see you. I would love to see you guys
Um,
debate.
I'm not sure that the interest is there.
Okay.
on the other side. But I can't speak. I don't know. I just haven't heard anything. I know we have
Okay.
forums. Whether some of these forums become debate-like, I don't have any control over that. But I would love to listen. I would love to debate. I know that you have to know your strengths when you run for office, and it can't come from a place of hubris, but a place of confidence. And I'm very confident in my ability to communicate. I'm very confident in my ability to argue, quite frankly. And I'm very confident that Lilota wouldn't want to debate me. I'm pretty confident about that because I'm going to bring the receipts. I'm not going to be like John up there talking about like the pageantry of DC and how he's basically defecating on the Constitution, in some like weird flowery way. Like, yeah, he is defecating on the Constitution. You got to say it in a way that everybody can understand. You can't be like this. Listen, I love academia. I went to NYU. I really take pride in that stuff. But there is such thing as an over intellectualization of politics where you almost sound like you're talking down to people. And that goes for even highly educated people who sound like, are you lecturing me right now? Or are you saying, or are you having a conversation about things that can impact my life? Right. And to be able to go up there on the debate stage and tell the loader, you're a liar, you're corrupt, all these things that we just haven't seen before. Um, treat I think we need candidates that treat this political moment like the complete dogfight that it is, and
Yes.
recognize that as nice and listen, as nice as it would be, and as much as I would want us to live in like an era of American politics of chivalry, and we don't,
Yeah. Agreed.
and sometimes it does kind of suck because I have my personality that sometimes I can like I'm like whatever. But by nature, I'm very nice. I'm not really confrontational, but I will be if need be. And do I wish that I could be going up there and talking about the percentage I would like to shave off of this, or what I would like to do to this, or that? Of course I would, but we don't live in an era where that is necessarily like looked at favorably, or not like looked at favorably, but you will be tuned out probably. And you
Yeah.
kind of need to have
Yeah.
the showman aspect of politics as much as you have the intellectual, genuinely legislative aspect of politics. And I like to think I have both. I'm pretty good at speaking to people, and like I said, I'm good at arguing. I'm proficient. And I just think that at the end of the day, Suffolk deserves a person that looks like them, that sounds like them, that thinks like them, that is of them. And this doesn't mean that you have to be born and raised, but it means that you have to have a significant attachment to this district, and you need to live in the district. And, you know, I think it's fairly obvious to see when a politician is phony or not, but we are just inundated with so many phony people, for lack of a better word, that, you know, I think that a lot of people, especially our generation, have forgotten that it's possible, and they see someone like Mamdani as a one-off, and we need to show them it's not a one-off, that it's a movement. You know,
Yeah. That that I think is a grave concern of mine. Like I don't want people to think that Mamdani is a one-off. And like
right?
there's things that are giving me a lot of hope
Yes,
towards that. I'm seeing a lot of candidates starting to pop up all across the country that are really promising. They're really, really, you know, interesting candidates that seem to, mean what they say.
right.
And I think this moment needs hope.
Yeah,
I think this moment right now, like we cannot allow despair to take over and, allow these thoughts of nihilism to keep us from getting off the couch.
yeah,
Because, like you said, we are in a dogfight right now. And
yep,
one of the things that, I've been so, uh, focused on and trying to get out there is like, war has changed. Like, sure, we see war that is going on in Lebanon right now and Gaza right now and Israel and Iran. That is war, but war is also technology and information.
yeah, yeah. Of
And
course.
we have been in a full-fledged assault for the past like 10, 15 years from outside influences and internal influences
Yep.
that are antithetical to our way of life, that are completely unconstitutional, and people are not recognizing the attack that's happening. And I think, you know, going circling back to the beginning of this conversation, you know, politics was never really like I was always raised in a political household, like
Sure.
one of the few things my parents ever actually agreed on was politics. And, I'll give them a lot of
That's
credit for
nice.
that.
So that's rare.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and to this day they still agree on politics, and again, it's the only thing that they agree on. But for me though, like it was a point of pride and a point of community to actually know what was going on, and to
Yeah.
be aware of your surroundings politically, economically, etc. And this rampant nihilism that has kind of forced people to tune out is also making us lose the war.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm so concerned, with everything going on that like this podcast, which was originally just supposed to be an entertainment podcast for like movies and stuff.
Right.
No,
Yeah. I
I,
see the posters in the back. Yeah.
I have to sit here and actually, come out and say some stuff here and try and get, voices like yours amplified. If I have that ability, I'm going to do
Right.
it,
Right. And yeah,
and
you should, and that harkens back to the thing you said about culture not being as political anymore.
yes.
You know.
Even going to, you know, realistically, like I know that I'm never going to be a politician. Like it's just as much as I'm into politics, I'm never going to be a politician. But as an artist, like
So
for
the same
me,
thing.
like,
So the same thing.
well, don't jinx me, knocking on wood. But as an artist, like I felt like there is something I have to do in this moment to respond here.
Yes.
And
Yes.
whether that's, I made an album this year that is very political, but I
Hmm.
mean, if it's that or if it's going on, hosting a podcast and trying to get voices like yours out there, I'm doing whatever I can,
Right.
because this is the moment where we have to do whatever we can. If you liked this video and you want to see more, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to keep this machine running, please subscribe to the Patreon page, where you get early access to all these reviews before they hit the channel. All right, I'll see you next week.